I'll recap the last time. We covered a little bit of how Bloodhound works and how to alert on really any Bloodhound module that you want to alert on. I'm sorry, PowerShell module that you want to alert on. And in the different classes of event viewer, event IDs, and different places to find that in the event viewer when you turn on more advanced logging. So now that we're done with that, we'll go on to the weaponization stage. And again, this is in the lateral movement and privilege misuse use case. So, you know, they've gone through all the recon, they've scanned for open shares, they have ran Bloodhound after they're, you know, already captured some credentials, is VampiCat, the only thing else is in that email, and I'll resend it to you, is the slides. So I exported and saved the slides as both a Keynote and a PowerPoint, and I sent that in the email. So I can resend it to you or send you a link or whatever. And somebody, I can hear your background noise, so if you could mute yourself, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, Keynote is the version on Mac. And that's what I use. So on to weaponization. So the most common and helpful thing you can do to prevent malicious actions at this stage is application whitelisting. There's so many harmful tools out there. You can't really do any kind of blacklisting. You know, no, I don't want, you know, this specific tool to run. You know, you're always going to come up with new binaries and new signatures or whatever to blacklist against. So you always want to pick out what programs that you can whitelist and turn that on, and that will help during the weaponization stage. And I mean, a lot of those tools already come with Windows, so, but those aren't needed on every system or even needed by every user. So things like WMIC or you know, PowerShell, all the kind of stuff that's built into Windows already, obviously not everybody needs to use. I see it constantly in firewalls, specifically that users, companies don't set up this kind of stuff correctly, whereas opposed to like least privilege model, they'll only allow the IPs or domains that have, I'm sorry, only block the IPs or domains that have proven to be a problem. So they'll have a firewall with 5 million rules just with specific IP addresses or IP addresses ranges blocked because that may have caused a problem at one point. That's definitely not the correct way to do it. Exploitation phase, that's where all the action happens. So things like Mimikatz, Pass the Hash, sticky keys, any kind of credentials being extracted from memory, golden tickets, all of that kind of stuff falls into this step. And we're talking about lateral movement, right? So this is a big chunk of the activities we need to try and defend against. So the primary defense against Mimikatz and other kinds of privilege escalation is definitely limiting your admin privileges to only the users that need it and making sure they're only logging on with those admin credentials when they need them. So I know it is a gigantic pain in the butt because I hate doing it as well, but not using your admin accounts as everyday use accounts. It's something very, very difficult to not become ingrained with that, just because that's how, I mean, you're doing admin stuff all day long. The last thing that you want to do is log in with at least, you know, an underprivileged user and have to escalate your own privileges all the time. But honestly, that's the easiest way to defend against those kind of privilege escalation attacks. I'm sure a very, very small percentage of us have had the ability to build an environment from the ground up. Usually you're slapped into a network that's built without any kind of design or any kind of security in mind. Usually least privilege is like the last thing on people's minds when they're considering, yeah, domain admin, everybody. I was actually, one of my first jobs, the entire IT department, so like 30-ish people, all had domain admin. Not only did they all have domain admin, like our just like the people that answered the phones, like the help desk people that answered the phones, and really weren't help desk people. They were more like operators, so they were older and they just kind of changed passwords and stuff like that. They had domain admin, and we had a couple people in HR that had domain admin. So yeah, that's definitely not fun to get away from. And you know, when installing software or building servers or doing anything, a lot of people will just okay, well, we'll install this with domain admin privileges, or we'll run this service as domain admin just because it works at that point, right? You just kind of, here, have all the things, and that way you don't have to worry about it breaking. But coming back from that is a gigantic nightmare, and kind of hard to get people used to not doing, once it's been a learned behavior. So a couple of the things that you can do at this point are things like SMB signing. SMB is definitely a big vulnerability that's out there. Things like privileged access workstations are also called jump boxes. So it would be, as opposed to allowing every IP address in the network everywhere to log in and manage all the switches, you could have this Linux box that everybody has to SSH to with two-factor authentication, and that box is the only thing that can actually access the management interface on all the switches, right? So you're funneling all of the admin activity into this one box, as opposed to having to keep track of everybody doing all the admin activity from wherever they're at. So that's, at this stage, something that you can definitely implement. That's fairly easy to put in place, that that doesn't cause too much hassle. It's like one or two extra steps, right? So two methods we're going to walk through right now. The first one is LAPS. So it's a local admin password solution. A lot of times, you have people cranking out images for desktops that are out wherever. Help desk is imaging 30, 40, 50 boxes at a time for new deployments or whatever. All of them will have the same local admin password. It makes management super easy. It makes doing remote scripting extremely easy, that kind of stuff. But it makes lateral movement also extremely easy. If they have the local admin username and creds for one box, and it's the exact same across the entire organization, they're going to be able to hop around and keep persistence until that's changed. And at that point, you're just like running around chasing and changing passwords, blah, blah, blah. And that's not really, scalable. So what LAPS does is it, via this install that you can push out with group policy, will change the password on all of the endpoints for the administrator. The other thing that we'll do is enable local account token filter policy, which will prevent non-interactive logins for local admins. So an interactive login would be you RDPing to a box and logging in with an admin credential, or you walking up to a box and logging in. Those are interactive logins, right? So it's not going to prevent those. It's going to prevent non-interactive logins. So it's going to be, mapping to admin shares with local admin credentials and that kind of stuff. So local admins, you can still log in, but that remote management stuff won't work. So it could be kind of difficult depending on the environment. You'd have to have other things in place for managing endpoints. A couple things I have noted to note when using LAPS. So one, it is stored in clear text. So the local admin passwords are stored in clear text in Active Directory. But honestly, if somebody's already on your domain controller, it doesn't matter, right? The passwords are protected by an ACL in AD, and it's not replicated to RODCs, which is a read-only domain controller. And it's not revealed in any audit logs. It is protected in transit by the lapse tool. So, you know, it offing and changing, going back and forth is protected. And I did not know this until I actually ran it in my lab and deployed it. It will actually change your default domain admin user account. So you better make sure you actually have another domain admin account to use to log into your DC. Otherwise, you now have a randomized password for your domain admin. And thank God for VMware backups. So we are going to, let's see here, go to our DC. If I can find it. Is this it? Yes, it's my test DC, which I'm sorry guys about this. I don't know why it's not doing it, but it will not keep the resolution that makes it easy for you guys to see. What was I going to do? Here we go. So in the syllabus, I had a list of, you know, random crap for you guys to download. And one of those things was the lapse exe. Temp. Oh, crap. What is this? Oh, yeah, there we go. Whew. It's just going slow. And I am determined to not have you guys have a 6th class. So we're going to get through all of this. So this lapse x64, you're going to run on the domain controller. And I think it's already run on this one, but it should let me run it again. So local administrator password solution setup wizard. Next. Oh, yeah, it already knows it's there. So just go ahead. It's like next, finish through the installation. It's, you know, pretty simple. So I'll pretend I'm doing that and installing it. And then after that, you actually need to use that x64 or really whatever version is going to end up going on your endpoints and put it in a publicly accessible share. In this case, I have this share on my domain controller, which is definitely not best practice. You should have it on a dedicated file server. Just, you know, role separation for that reason alone. But I don't have a file server, and this is going to get blown away anyways. So right now I have this in a new share called Lap Share. So I'll show you guys how to create one of those to be publicly accessible. So go ahead and create whatever folder that you want to create, or you could do it on your entire temp directory if it's in your lab. And under the properties, so here I had it shared with everybody. You can't see that there. Oh, domain users, read write. Here we go. You don't have to do everybody. You can do domain users because those are the only ones that are going to need access to it. Yay, it was already shared, but I shared it again. And it's set under lap share. And security. You have to make sure you add domain computers to be able to access this for full permissions in both the security and in sharing, I believe. It's not really domain users that matters, it's the computers that needs it. And you can change the share name if you want. Yeah, here I have everyone. But I had to actually, so this is everyone, but in the permissions, I had to add domain computers. Right there. So after you do that, anybody in the domain should be able to access the share by its name, as long as it can access the server. And it would be, you know, / name of the server / share name, right? So you're going to go to, and that's where you're going to put the exe, if I didn't say that before. I'm going to go to my endpoint, which this does not have laps installed on it yet, and I just want to, oops, make sure this is the right one. No, go away. So laps will show up under C program files, and that is not there. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to want to install it on. I'm not going to do it yet. I just need to make sure it has access to that drive. That's right there. So this is a domain joined computer that is going to end up getting this via a group policy software policy, like software installation policy. So back on our DC, you're going to open up group policy. I'll see if I can at least temporarily make this a little bit bigger. I know it'll go back, but it is kind of a pain. I think there's just something messed up with my VMware tools, honestly. Okay, that should make it easier for you guys to see. So best practice for this as well is to create a new group policy object specifically for your software pushes. So this one, we're going to just go ahead and create a new one called laps. So create new GPO in this domain and link it here. Laps. Okay. Oh, crap. Laps 2 for me, because I guess I already have one on this domain. Yes, I know. Right click and edit. So computer configuration, policies, software settings. I'm going to right click on software installation. New pack, oh crap, new package. And we need to set it to where the share is at. Test DC / lap share. And select that installer package. Go ahead and leave it as assigned and hit OK. I'm going to close this out and make sure that the computer's actually in here somewhere. Where's Active Directory? Yes, there are. Refresh. Oh, maybe I put it in endpoints. That is. Oh, I think it's that one. 79BN. Yeah, okay, that's the right one. So that currently doesn't have any group policy. So we are going, well, I am anyways. You can, as long as yours gets applied, you can leave it there. So we will move that to, oh, actually, you know what? That probably does. I think I filtered out group policy on that, which you can do. You can block group policy inheritance. So I'm going to move that back to your computers. Yes, I do, I'm sure. Close that out. Close this out. And I'm going to run GP update, force. Oh, crap, wrong one. Yeah, it actually will continue to do pretty much everything after the license expires. It just yells at you. Okay, so I think I probably have to reboot this box. And we'll see if it should install after that, hopefully. I think your policy is just messed up on it a little bit because I had it blocked earlier. Oh, while I am waiting on this, there's another thing that we have to do to extend the schema to allow the management of all of these passwords on the DCs. So while this is obviously running Windows updates and rebooting, on the DC, you can open up PowerShell as administrator, which I've learned. And I wonder if this is in my top drive. This might just work. I don't know. Let me try it. I can't remember. Do import dash module adm pwd.ps. I think that should just work. Yeah. All right. That just works after you install Laps. And then you do update dash adm pwd ad schema. Oh, come on. What am I logged in as? I should be domain admin. Oh, you know what? You also have to be a schema admin. I probably am not in the correct group. Come on. This is like the little DC that could. One of these days I'll get a real lab, I promise. I know. I have 2 DCs currently. I mean, you should have more than 1 DC. So I'll show you how to edit a user if you don't know how to do that. So in here as users, I have to find me. Double click, member of. Yeah, so right now I'm just administrators, which is local, in the built-in group. They're domain admins and domain users. There are also, yes, I know. There we go. There's these schema admins that will actually allow you to modify the schema on the domain. The built-in domain administrator, you wouldn't have to do any of this too, because it's just a member of all of the things. But my account, I actually went in and recreated and just gave it domain admin. So I'm going to give it schema admin. Apply, okay. Come on, you can do it. Let me try that again. Aw. Let's do this again. Import module adm pwd.p oops .ps adm pwd. Oh, give me a break. All right, how about we, oh, good. We'll just copy this. So enterprise admins is the only other thing. Okay, so now I should, in theory, not have to do anything else. Even if you're on domain controller? Can you do that on PowerShell, or do you have to do that for the there we go. Thanks. We'll see if that works. You piece of crap. Let's try this. That's all right. What I did didn't work either, Jason. I should have pretty much access to do everything, so I have absolutely no idea why that's not working. But I don't feel like you guys probably want to, yeah, I don't want to waste time either. Oh, piece of crap. All right, let's try this again now that I'm actually logged in as the real admin and see if that works. I don't know why it would make a difference. Oh, you know what? Oh no, yeah, I have no idea. Well, that worked. So I have absolutely no idea why my other account didn't work. Maybe if I would have logged out and back in. But anyways, there we go. So one thing, updating and extending the schema is something that should be done also with extreme caution, because it's going to modify the underlying attributes in Active Directory and in the domain. And it cannot be reversed. So you need to definitely take care when you're doing anything with the schema. It can really mess things up if you're not careful. So there's different things that you can do to also delegate the endpoint so they can change their own passwords. I put that in the show notes, geez, in the slide presenter notes. So you could do that if you want. You can also do things like remove attributes that allow anybody else to read their own passwords. And that's a whole bunch of other like ADSI edit commands. And there's some PowerShell stuff in there. You can allow different users or groups to retrieve a computer's passwords, like if you have help desk people that you want to do it. And a whole bunch of different stuff that you can do as far as settings go with WAPs. So hopefully, yeah, this is the device. I hope this actually deployed. And I can show you a couple little commands that you can use on the box itself to look at the new change password. And if anybody's ever pushed out applications with Active Directory, it's kind of touch and go. Yeah, it is totally not there. So if any of the noobs want to answer, you can feel free. I'm going to ask a question and see if you know where to look first. Where would I go to find out maybe why that didn't deploy to this box? Where at? Yeah, it's a couple good answers. Yeah, so event viewer, definitely on this box for sure, or on the DC. Application logs, so the logs on this box, or again on the DC. You can run RSOP, which is short for resultant set of policy, which is a tool that will give you different information on the group policies that are applied and the different settings that are applied to a device. And it does it a little bit differently than GP result, which is another tool that you can run to show what has applied to what, right? What group policy has applied to what users and what computers. So there's nothing running there. We will look in. How much time do we have to see if we can troubleshoot this? We do not have enough time. So I'm going to let you guys, if you want to go ahead and, yeah, that as well. Like I said, group policy can be really finicky when pushing out software. That's why a lot of people don't really use it and use other endpoint solutions to push out software. But I was using what I had, so I was hoping it would kind of work during the live demo. I'm going to go over though to another endpoint and show you a couple commands real quick, and then we'll head on to the OSINT stuff, and then we can finish up. Yes, I know. I hard booted my MacBook like 5 minutes before training. Let's see here. So you can, if I have the correct rights on this device, it should work. But this is a PowerShell command that will give you what the admin passwords are in Laps. So you can type it get -adm pwd password, what you want the computer name to be. So my endpoint that I haven't actually deployed on is test-win10. Oh crap, it's because I have to import that thing. One sec. You have to import this before you actually run that command. Oh, come on, maybe. Did I not do that correctly? Okay, maybe this is the wrong device too. I know I just had it on something. Oh, that's why, that's the wrong box. There we go. There we go. So you guys probably can't see that. Let me zoom in a little bit. Just thinking about it. Whoa. There we go. All right. So running that on the one that actually it has Laps working on gives you the randomized password on that endpoint box. And I'm not running it on the box itself. I would have to either be logged in as a domain admin on that endpoint or be logged in as something that I actually delegated permissions to be able to see this password. So right here, and there's also a GUI in the Laps on the endpoint in the Laps directory that you can run that you can just kind of click on. It'll show you the password if you have the correct permissions as well. Okay. So now that we've done that, we'll go ahead and go on to the OSINT stuff. If I can get my cursor back. There we go. So I'm slowly moving all of the OSINT stuff that I can think of into its own little use case. And I have not a whole lot so far, but enough that, you know, kind of a good starting point. So OSINT, which is open source intelligence, is as much of a defensive tool as it is an offensive tool. That information is going to be power no matter if you're offensive, defensive, whatever, right? So OSINT is defined as, it's the discipline that pertains to intelligence produced from publicly available information that is collected, exploited, and disseminated in a timely manner to an appropriate audience for the purpose of addressing a specific intelligence requirement. Open source intelligence is derived from the systematic collection, processing, and analysis of publicly available relevant information in response to intelligence requirements. So all of the stuff that you can find on people and companies online. So a lot of attackers, teams, whatever, will use OSINT to gather information a bunch of different ways about your company, or maybe a high profile employee, or like their ex, whatever. That information that's found is going to assist them in creating their like specific attack strategy, and creating a dossier on whoever and whatever company, and it's going to be custom tailored to fit the needs based on the sector of the business. And it could even include personal information about top targets or more susceptible targets, right? So for different things of monitoring alerting, there's a couple measures that you can do to be proactive. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of haveibeenpwned.com. So it now has an API that you can leverage to alert on a whole bunch of different things. Not only does it include major breach data, their PASTE model also allows you to alert for email addresses, domains, passwords, keys, or really anything else that you can think of. So like any intellectual property that your company or you might have. And it looks across, this is just some of them. So Pastebin, Pasty, GoSpin, QuickLeak, JustPaste, OptOut, like they have a very large amount of accounts, websites that they look across that you can use that API with. I personally have one of the Pro Pastebin accounts, and as often as it fires, I have several different email addresses in there. I have my name, the book name, a couple different user accounts, and some of them are added ability to compare password hash or the first characters of 5 characters. I saw that, yeah. Brian told me about that. That's kind of interesting. It's actually a service that they have that you can like compare all your the first characters all of your password hashes with. Mine throws off a lot of at least the one throws off a lot of false positives all the time, just because it's set to like Berlin A or something. And I get a lot of really weird stuff, but a lot of cool stuff at the same time. But it's nice, to know what somebody might just be pasting about, you or your company or product or whatever out there on one of those sites. Something else that you can do is set up honey accounts. So it's like a fake profile, fake email address, fake whatever, created for the intent purpose of alerting on any kind of attacker. So like if you control like your OWA page or your external website or anything like that, you can embed like a honey account, so you can't actually physically see it when you visit the site, but like scrapers and people that are using different kinds of OSINT applications will get that email address, and if you see something coming to it, it's not legit. You can also set up canary tokens. Canarytokens.org has pretty much the ability to create a canary token for any kind of software that you can think of, so definitely check out that. It'll let you track things like file reads, database queries, process executions, Bitcoin transactions, LinkedIn profile views, and have like traps in those systems, so you can set up a honeypot other than like the ones that are just out there as regular honeypots. Okay, so one of my favorite tools I'd like to use as like demonstrate a beginner level of OSINT is the Harvester Python script. So you can use this on your own domain if you want, and I am going to use it. I don't know what I'm going to use it on today. Anybody have any ideas on what to use the harvester on? So sorry, on the Kali box, this is already included, or you can download the harvester from GitHub, I'm sure, on you know, a bunch of different places. So we're going to change that directory on Kali, and it's really super easy to run. This will actually show you all the different options that you have available. Here's the harvester. It's actually going to go out and search the internet for a whole bunch of stuff. So -d is going to be the domain name that we feed it. -b is the data sources, and we're just going to go ahead and say all. So we're going to do Python harvester -d. We'll do, who do we want to do? We'll do Delta. I usually just limit it, just, you know, because this is a demo and we don't really, we're not going to need all of them. So -l is for length, so we're only going to do the first 50 records, and the data source we're going to do all. And after we hit that, oh, crud. Helps if you type it right. Oh, it also searches PGP key servers, which I find interesting. So boom, it found a whole bunch of stuff. So if we scroll back up, like these Delta employees probably going to be highly susceptible to phishing attempts, just because their email is out there. You know, if they use the email and it's publicly accessible and shows up just with a super quick scan of the internet, those people in your organization are definitely going to need a little bit more training. It also finds things like other hosts. So see, look, it has all these subdomains for Delta. It also finds all these virtual hosts, which you can find some really funny co-hosting websites sometimes, like, oh, I didn't realize, like, they're sharing the IP address with all, like, the Beastie Boys blog. That's fantastic, right? So that's fairly easy to use, and it kind of gives you a starting point with OSINT. Now, I've used that kind of stuff as like that. Those are the first accounts that I do my internal user education on, or, you know, internal phishing, whatever. So we will go back to the slides, wherever they are. Here we go. Nope. So here are some of the easier, more effective methods of dealing with an attacker gathering OSINT on you. One thing, you can scrub metadata from files that are released or posted to the public. There was something called the metadata anonymization toolkit, which actually meant like automatically scrubs metadata from like Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint, PDFs, whatever. I wasn't able to find an active version of it, but there's also a Office VBA thing called Microsoft Document Inspector that kind of does the same thing. So one thing that this happens in, I've seen it happen in a lot of CTFs, and I've, you know, gathered a little bit of OSINT on other people or companies or whatever using this method, but all files are going to have some amount of metadata, whether it's GPS coordinates, whether it is the company name. Sometimes there's email addresses listed in there. Sometimes there's usernames and passwords listed in there. You never know what you're going to find in metadata, and to have that automatically removed is a nice step, right? So the next thing that you can do is set your whois to private, or at least change it to something that's going to go to some tech contact and not like the owner of the company or whatever. So I'm going to show you a couple different how not to do whois and how to do correctly. Both on one domain that I used to own and one that I own now. So this is a domain that I used to own that I gave up because I don't play in the band anymore. But this is, this dude's AOL address, because they were all old people that played in the band, and his, actual street address and his phone number. And, that shit's just out there on the internet. Google DNS does it, but when you register with, who do they have it through? SRS Plus, that is not free, and they just, it's out there, right? So I actually created this one for a CTF that we did last year, and this is a completely fake person. He lives on, it's a Manly scrapworker. His name's Jason, lives on 123 Main Street, because I don't think Namecheap provided it for free either. I can't remember, or I just wanted the information out there. It was one of the two things. But you can actually change it so it doesn't display any of this, right? Next, we're going to show Shodan a little bit. So if you don't know what Shodan is, it is the website that gives you everything that's out on the internet. I found a couple of cool things. If you're interested in seeing cool Shodan stuff, two people that you should follow are, I think it's what's John Matherly's Twitter handle? Achilles or something like that. I'll find it and put it in the, and this. Yeah, this is the other one. So John Matherly created Shodan and watched me miserably fail the SECTF the year that I did it, which was super embarrassing. But yeah, both of them are super smart and have some really cool things about Shodan on there. So like, this is some random IP in Sweden with all these random ports open, and you can actually they have Telnet open, but this is some kind of boat with VNC open. So definitely, this is another one that Dan tweeted out. Somebody actually has a webcam on their RSA token. And look up your company's IP addresses, see what is out there, and does it play I'm a boat? I don't know, it could. But yeah, I mean, you don't want this stuff on your IP address ranges out on the internet, unless you're an ISP. Then you really have no control over any of that, other than like your management stuff. And what was this one? I can't remember. Oh, RDP. So Windows Server 2008 R2 box, open RDP to the internet. This is the kind of stuff that is going to make everybody cringe and is out there a lot. But you don't want that on your network, right? What else was I going to show you? Buildwith.com is another thing you can use for OSINT that's pretty cool. It will actually tell you everything that a website is built out of. This is the company that I work for, and our website obviously has a whole lot of crap. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is nice and pretty. But you can actually use this and say, oh, it's running, a super old version of Apache, and it has all of these vulnerabilities against it. And you don't have to, look at all the headers and inspect all the pages just to try and figure it out, you can go here and boom, it just gives you all of the information. Okay, what time is it? It is 10:32 and I have a couple slides left that I am going to blast through real quick. Most of the information is in the stuff that I emailed you, and if you didn't get the email, let me know and I will just link it to you in DM or whatever. Yes, sorry, I did skip robots.txt. I had an email website open for that. Robots.txt is a file that tells search engines not to index certain files and directories on your web servers, but it can be used, like say you go through and say, all right, I do not want robots that are out on the internet indexing my website to index anything that are in any of these. Okay, but you also have to block access to all of these as well. People will just think, okay, well, the robots can't access them, so that just means everybody on the internet won't know they're there. Well, these are some really super, well, first off, these are really super common directories, but even if there are some custom directories and they're just listed in robot.txt, you can look through that and say, oh, well, they have all of these directories not indexed, but I can still access them. So yeah, that's also something that I wanted to point out. Okay, so putting it all together, we've definitely covered more information than I thought we were going to cover and went further than I thought we were going to go. That's just because I was compulsively adding stuff to this over the last several weeks. But most of it's with a common theme, something showing up in a log somewhere to catch what the attacker is trying to do. So I never recommend that, I never recommend that logging and some sort of security event monitoring is one of the first things in a security program, but it kind of should be up there somewhere after like asset management, patching, perimeter controls, that kind of stuff. Because it is, you know, logging is extremely important and it's going to give you a very in-depth look into your network. So operating systems of any kind, appliance, anything with underlying OS, anything with services, anything that logs is going to have some kind of log repository. As we've seen on Windows, this is Event Viewer. On Unix, Unix platforms, application like devices, so like switches, that kind of stuff. Some you know, next gen, all that next gen stuff. A lot of it's in just var log. And you can get that from the file system, syslog, forwarders, endpoint, you know, additions to forward those logs to some kind of SIM. And the common feature between all of these methods is that logs are stored on the host from which they originated. But in the case of a compromise, that kind of leaves your logs exposed, and you want all of them to show up in a central location aggregated somewhere. And that's really the benefit of what a SIM is. It's going to take all of that, well, yeah, a SIM or any kind of log aggregator, right? Depending on if you want to add security on it or not, that's up to you. But all of that going to a centralized repository gives you things, benefits like, you know, you don't have to worry about endpoint compromise, getting rid of the logs because they're already off the system or at least duplicated. You don't have to worry about hardware failure, rogue members of staff. All of the logs are still going to be intact, you know, eventually, and can't really be tampered with. So now what? You want to create some drills, tabletop exercises, and, you know, use your real IR or real pen tests and go based off of those scenarios or news that you've seen, conversations that we've had in the chats, whatever. There's a lot that you can do to kind of prep yourself and walk through like real life scenarios. Speaking of real life, like any kind of newsworthy hack that's been out there, you know, I have in my notes the Equifax breach, right? Because they've been breached now like 5 times. But imagine all of that as your customer record and walk through the steps, what needs to be done, what order, by whom, and when, And that's going to be a really good playbook to save and run through eventually, right? You don't have to go just specifically based on one or two threats. It's, the stuff that you don't plan for, that you don't think of, that you want to kind of throw in the works and try and walk through, so you don't kind of miss any steps. And there's a whole bunch of other notes in the slides too on stuff like that. So I'm not going to go through all that. A couple of things that you can include in the tabletop. During a tabletop exercise, there should be some kind of moderator or facilitator that's going to deliver a scenario to be played out. They can answer like what if questions about whatever imaginary emergency you're using. They can lead discussion, pull in additional resources, control the pace, make sure nobody's like jumping over tables at other people. And a main thing that I like to remind people of, especially in a tabletop, is that it's very acceptable to not have an appropriate answer during the exercise. That's the reason that you're doing the exercise. I think, honestly, that's one of the most important things in a tabletop that people need to understand. Let's see here. There should also be a member of the exercise should evaluate the overall performance. You'll end up adding all that kind of stuff to your run book. And participants make up the majority of the exercise. You should have not just, you can have drills where it's just going to be security and IT, but I think most tabletops are going to have people like finance, HR, legal, security, management, marketing, any other key group that might be required, so they can engage in that conversation, challenge each other's viewpoints, and come up with an overall very well-rounded solution for some of that stuff. And then in some of the post-exercise actions and questions that you can use that I've found to be really helpful. And a lot of this stuff will definitely add on to any playbooks or tabletops or run books, whatever you guys want to call them. Any of the stuff that we've gone over, in the last 5-6 weeks, simulate an attack, right? See if your logs catch it. See if your sim alerts on it. Can you defend against it? If not, if something were to go wrong, then what? If you have a major breach, walk through all that kind of stuff as much as you possibly can. And I know I'm a little late, but I did get it all done this last hour. So you already know who I am and where to find me. But I really, really hope you really liked it. And I keep on adding more stuff to it. So I think this eventually is I'm just gonna keep going. I don't know. So does anybody have any questions specifically on today or over the last whatever? Feel free to ask. Yes, I will send you the email and slides, definitely. I'll probably just send you a link or I can re-email it to you. We'll see what works. Yay.